Hello and welcome to the I Shall Bloom Show. Yes, a show where we interview stellar individuals whose work and legacy has profoundly lifted up the community for the better. Each week, like I say, we interview a new guest and we take a deeper dive into the work that they are doing in their lives for the community. You see here at I Shall Bloom, You Shall Bloom, and We Shall Bloom. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Angela, well, they call her Angie K. Allen. She is an author, and I will read a little bit about her, and then I will introduce her with a bigger bang. It says that Angie K, she's known as Allen, she's a native of San Antonio and published her first novel in 2015. And since then, she has published 8 books ranging in genres, including a devotional journal. She started with her late aunt and assisting in publishing 7 authors in the city and surrounding areas with their masterpiece. In 2020, we're going to talk about this. She opened a bookstore on the east side under that she was the first Black owned, and despite having to close its doors in the late 2021, she continues to showcase literacy being the most important facet in becoming successful. Angie K is all things literary, offering services of publishing, coaching, ghostwriting, and tutoring. So without further ado, I introduce Angie K. Woo
Hello,
woo!
everyone. Hello.
Yes. Hi. So welcome to the I Shall Bloom show. I shall bloom, you shall bloom, we shall bloom. That's what it's
Yes.
all about. So tell us, the world, who is Angie K? Angie K.
Angie K is,
Uh-oh, are you on? Boop, boop, boop.
let's see.
Yeah, let's hear. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
on. Okay.
So,
Ah,
Angie K is, I would say at this point, a personality of Angela. There's the same characteristics for the most part. However, I am a different person when I write.
yeah.
And so, of course,
Woo.
I was born Angela.
Yeah.
You know, my mother raised me, and my father raised me as Angela.
Yes.
That's how family knows me. However, when I started writing, you know, I write creatively.
Mhm.
So, in that aspect, a different person has to come out because I write different things.
Yes.
And so that's where Angie K was birthed.
Yes.
So Angie K is still the quirky, extrovert, loves people, loves talking to people, loves being around people. However, Angie K has some kind of weirdo things. That's what people tell me all the time.
Oh,
I like
yes,
weird
yes.
movies.
Yes,
and,
because of the.
and it's writing motivation.
Okay, so when you get ready to, I know people have writer's block and they go and they have to go in somewhere and sit and just in recluse. When you write your novels or when you write, do you have to, what comes over you? Like what feeling? Okay, I got to write this. What quirks you and what gives you that? Okay, this is today I'm writing this. Like what? How do you feel? Let us take us into the life of a writer.
Mm-hmm. So for me, because I write creatively, and I'm not going to say it's a feeling, it's more of an idea. Like I could be asleep,
yeah,
and I'll honestly remember, or as I like, when you're asleep but you're thinking about something or dreaming about something.
Yes,
I will actually be dreaming about something or envisioning a story in my head. And if I don't wake up at that moment to write it down, I'll remember when I wake up, oh, you know what? That's a great idea.
Yes.
Or I watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of TV, and when I go places, I observe everything around me. So I'll get ideas all the time.
Yes.
And it'll like I said, in my mind, I'm like, ooh, that would be a good story, or I should write about that, or
Yes.
you know, or if someone tells me something that they've experienced, I'll tell people all the time, don't do stuff in front of me now, because you might end up in a book.
A character.
So, yes. So it's always just ideas that are always around me, and I'll think of anything.
Wow. So, you know, everybody can't write. I know I'm not a writer. I can speak well, and I can, you know, even do this. But when it comes to penmanship, it's like, okay, does that go there? Does a comma go there? And all semicolon go here? You know, because it takes those symbols and those exclamation marks make that book or that point. It, you know, it makes it come alive.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go into your private place, you're in another world. Like some
Mm-hmm.
people, readers. I have my best friend as a reader. She'll just, you know, I won't see her for sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
whole weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and she's finished with a book that took me like 3 months to
Mm-hmm.
read.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
she's in it.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that feel when you just put yourself in a book? You close your eyes and you're in it.
It takes you into a different world. So kind of piggybacking on what you said, like, I'm not a writer.
I'm not.
Everybody is a writer. So even though you feel like, you know, I can speak and I can talk, can't put it on paper, you can. That's where editing comes in. So a lot of people write the way they talk.
Yes.
So that's when you get an editor to go through that.
Yes.
And they edit it in a way to where now it's polished, and you have the commas and the punctuation, and the grammar and the sentence structure.
Yes.
So anybody can read. If you can write, if you can write letters to words to sentences to paragraphs, anybody can write. That's why you have people in expertise that can edit your work and proofread it and polish it. Wow. So when you're reading, and out of me, my mom, and my sisters, I have two older sisters. I'm the baby.
You're the baby.
I'm the baby.
Oh, the baby.
And my sisters are older than me. They're 12 and 13 years older than me. So I pretty much, it was just me and my mom for a lot of years, me growing up. So that was my pastime. I started reading a lot. And because I read so many different things, I would make up characters in my head. I had imaginary friends.
Yeah, that comes to life, all of that.
Right, because when you read something and it captures your attention, you get lost in the scenery that they're building in the book, the characters they've built in the book. You get lost in what's going on. You start to think about people that've done what they're doing, you may have done what they're doing, and you think about your experiences. So when your friend, you don't hear from your friend, she's gotten lost in the characters. Your imagination runs wild. It's very easy if you allow yourself to read and be interested in what you're reading. It's very easy to get caught up, especially, I tell people all the time, reading is such an escape, because if you've had a long day and you just don't want to hear about anything that has anything to do with work, you pick up a book, and you could pick up a book. I tell people, pick up a book you've never thought about reading before.
Okay.
And
the steps.
The best, when you just want to relax and you don't want to think about anything and you don't want to ponder about anything, read smut.
Smut?
Read stuff. Just craziness. Craziness. Drama.
Yes.
Crime. Romance.
Yeah, romance.
Mature adult, read something out of character that you wouldn't necessarily read.
Okay.
Because I guarantee you're going to start reading, you're going to forget about everything, because you're gonna be like, what's going on and what did they do, and oh my goodness, and you're gonna read that, and by the time you finish, you're gonna be like, oh, what was I tripping about? Oh, you know what, I ain't worried about that.
Yes. Well, I want to bring it back to you because I got so many questions of bringing joy back, and what is the I guess the characteristics of a good book, but I guess that depends on because some books pull attention more than others. But I'm gonna bring it back to you. It says that you wrote your first book in
15.
2015. So where were you and how? I mean, where were you then? But you've always been a book reader and a book. You know, you started because you were a baby, and your mom probably introduced you to books. You know, and then you didn't have any sisters; they were grown.
Yes.
So you had your whole imaginary crew. So that makes reading develops your terminology, develops diction, develops.
Yes.
You know, so I'm going to ask you that later of how to bring that joy back. Because I'll talk about that. But let's talk about you when you wrote your first book. Like, how were you feeling and what did you think about?
So, and like you said, reading has always been a thing for me. My mom didn't necessarily introduce me. Of course, she, encouraged.
Yes.
My aunt was an English teacher for years.
You said aunt. Okay.
Before she passed away. Yes. A lot of people knew her here. She taught at Emerson Middle School.
What was her name?
Deborah Williams.
And
she taught at Sam Houston. She was a lot of people's teacher.
Yes.
And my aunt was a reading English teacher, and she read, and my cousins, read. So that's who pretty much introduced me to reading.
Yes.
And then, reading, of course, Black authors.
Yes.
And things of that nature. But, my aunt read everything. I was the student in English class that was excited for the reading materials. Yeah. All the other kids, they didn't want to read The Great Gatsby. They didn't want to read what was it?
The big one?
Shakespeare.
Yes.
They didn't want to read the
Catcher of the Rye. This big one.
To Kill a Mockingbird. I wanted to read that. I was like, can we read it again? So reading took me into, I wonder if I could write a book and people be interested. And over the years, like from high school up until that time, I would write stuff.
Yes.
Little short stories and put it up, write stuff, just because I read something and I wrote something kind of similar to it, just to see it on paper.
Right.
So about early 2015, from doodling around, I went back to a story I had started writing and kept messing with it. And I let one of my older cousins read it. That's a reader. I let her read some of it to get her opinion. And I was more so like, hey, if she tells me, I got lost after a while and, you took it to a place where I wasn't interested anymore. Okay, whatever. I'll just stick to reading. But she was like, it's a good story. I want to know what happens next.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll finish it. I'll think of some stuff. I'll look at a few TV shows and I'll finish it. I finished it and I allowed my aunt to edit it for me. That was all new to me. So paying for editors and stuff. So I let my aunt edit and I'm waiting. It's weeks go by and I'm like, Auntie, have you finished? And she's like, no, I haven't finished yet, girl. That girl, so-and-so, like one of the characters, she's like, she's a mess.
So she in the book.
My cousin, her daughter was like, Mama can't even edit because she reading it. And
it's that good.
So I was like, okay. Cool. So that's where it started. I published it on my own in 2015.
In 2015,
and
you published it on your own?
On my own.
See, that's another story too on teaching on how you did that.
Yes.
For people who have that, because we all have this book that we want. We're scared to put on paper. Just like I just said, I'm not going to I can't write. They'll be like, she illiterate? You know what I mean? So, that's another story for us to do. So, what pulled you? What books pull you?
So I like drama, like women's fiction, drama, kind of soap opera-ish type books. That's like my first book. It's drama.
What's the name of your first book?
The True Essence of Loyalty. And the woman's name is Loyalty.
Her name is Loyalty.
But it still has something to do with loyalty. Okay,
and then we'll name one at the end, and we'll name your books.
Yes.
And we'll, find out how we can get this book.
Yes,
because I wish I would have at least had the books here, because everybody that's been here, I have a book.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So our next visit, I'll have one of your books.
Okay.
So we can showcase, because I want you to talk about how you publish your own book.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
we probably could talk about
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
well, let's talk about that first, and then
Okay.
you can tell us what pulls you, what books. How do we know? Because for people who've lost the joy, I don't know. I've had um, some grief in my life and some bad times, and it just took. The devil takes. It was my joy
Hmm.
reading, and I thought even at 3 and 5, I remember I was writing books. I was
Hmm.
smart like that, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, and putting them away. And then something just took away my joy of reading, writing. Just took away my joy of it. It always
Hmm.
something else comes, and then when I start, there's something else.
Hmm.
So, um, how did you publish your own book?
So because I read,
Uh-huh.
of course, and then I just
Knowledge.
started researching,
Mm-hmm.
how you put a book up on Amazon, or how you get a book printed, or how you, and and then talking to other authors that have self-published, looking at different authors, pulling up different people. And so I got a lot of information from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
How to design a cover, of course getting an editor and doing all those things. So it was a lot of questions, a lot of asking questions, a lot of research, and trial and error. That was my first time.
Yes.
So
On your own, though.
On my own.
On
So
your
when I
own.
look back on the first cover I had of my first book, as opposed to the cover now, you can tell the growth.
The growth,
And
yes.
you'll always be able to tell that.
And that's the key word she said, growth.
Hmm.
You know, and even just I applaud you for even just doing it on your own.
Hmm.
You know, just say, hey, getting away from the bondage of fear, and just said, I'm going to do this on my own.
Hmm.
And so now, like I had asked you the question on what books pull you as a writer.
So the books that has pulled me, like I love the late Elin Harris, died several years ago. His books were phenomenal, the way his stories were structured, and you always, whatever story you would read, he would go back to a previous story or previous characters.
Yes.
And kind of catapult them into the next story.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Jerome Dickey, God rest his soul, like he was a phenomenal writer. I like Nora Roberts.
Yeah.
Very intricate in detail when she writes her stories. Patricia Cornwell, she's a suspense, like mystery writer, but she is, I believe, a former medical examiner.
Yeah.
So all her stories are surrounded around like murders and stuff like that, and trying to figure out, kind of like Criminal Minds, trying to figure out what happened and why it happened. Yeah. And so those are the types of books that motivate me into not wanting to be in a box.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So you can have drama with mystery, and with suspense,
and love.
With love, right? Because there's always something going on,
to maintain that love, because of the devil is always busy on trying to destroy anything that's good.
Yes.
So that's where the fight is always. Spiritual warfare.
All the time.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
So. So the first name, your first book name was
The True Essence of Loyalty.
Okay, and so I see that you wrote several books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so after your first, you said trial and error, but it wasn't any error because you got out there and you did it. Mm-hmm. Your second book.
So the second book, I did True Essence of Loyalty 1 and 2. So there's 2 parts.
Okay.
And in the midst of part 1 and 2, I actually did go with what they call Vanity Press publishing, where you pay into it. You pretty much pay them to publish your book.
Right.
Happens, yeah. And so
there's a lot of those out there.
That was an unfortunate.
Don't do it.
Like that was unfortunately.
So you're giving us it's always good to have someone that says, "Hey, don't go that route."
Yeah. Well, not the route. It's
buying, or
researching, and reviews and discussions, and if they're the right fit for you, because what they say, Vanity Press is you pay into it. You're putting your money into them for them to publish your book, and understanding what you're getting out of it, what they're going to do for you, for what you're paying, what you're going to get in return.
Right.
Nothing's guaranteed in that. However, you do want to feel that, hey, I see, some progress. I see some effort.
Mhm.
I understand that it may not have worked out the way I wanted it to this past week, but I at least saw the effort.
Right.
And so unfortunately, I did not see that with that decision.
Yes.
And once I saw that what they did in equaled what I paid, I was like, I could have done that. Yeah, I did it the first time, just not as in depth. And so that's where that started. Like from then on, I've self-published everything.
Wow.
And so my third, and I would say, if you say my second, outside of True Essence, my second installment of writing was The Rich Gang. And that's an urban fiction. That's my favorite genre of book.
Yes.
Because I don't know that life. I don't know the street life. Yes. And I grew up in, I guess what you would say, the suburbs, here.
Yeah.
And so I'm fascinated with that life. Like, who Aquan over there with, and
Yes. And that's real too, because we, people, and I'm going to say, people think that everybody grew up in the hood or grew up in a different, but we grew up in all different areas.
Yes.
And there's things we don't even know about our own neighborhood. On those different neighborhoods, we don't know. And so you're writing a book about that. You know what I mean? And so not to joke, but for knowledge,
And it was because I didn't know that life, or I don't. I've read those books a whole lot. One of my favorite authors is an urban literature author. And so I read his books and seen little things, but he knows that life.
Right.
So his books are a whole lot deeper.
Yeah.
I had to Google a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Google teaches you how to do everything.
Yeah.
My boyfriend was like, you have like drugs in here and stuff, and how much this is on the street. And I'm like, Google.
Right.
Google will tell you. And that's how I did it. And I always say my urban fiction novel is mild compared to, but it's still, that's the way I based it. And then I based it in the city, because this is where I'm from, born and raised. So if you're from here and you read it, you'll see little streets that you'll know and recognize. And then I've had a lot of people say, girl, I thought you were talking about so-and-so that lived on so-and-so. And I'm like, no. I don't know if it's a coincidence. I've had my mom's friends say, they're thinking that, Angela's writing from her experiences. And my mom's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, the only thing The Rich Gang is based off of in my life, maybe, is it's about 3 sisters. Right. And it's 3 of us.
Right.
But that's it. My mom was not a drug dealer.
Right.
My mom was a nurse.
Yes.
So it's total imagination, total make-believe.
Yes.
But that's how that one started. And then I've written 2. I don't always like to say erotica because some people shy away from that title. So I'll say mature audience. I like to say mature romance, mature audience, because it's a little more than just romance. But I've written 2 of those. And so, that completes the 8th. And then, like I said, the devotional journal, my aunt gave me a lot of like quotes and expressions that she wrote down before she passed away. Yeah. And she was like, here, do something with these. And I was like, okay. And I didn't until after she died, because I kind of felt like we were supposed to do this together. Yeah. But her daughter said, she didn't give them to you for you to just sit on them. Right. And so I, developed one journal and have pretty much just been promoting that one. Yes. But I'm starting to this year, come out with more, because she gave me probably like over 40 different quotes that she wrote down, like divinely guided, spiritually connected, spiritually aware, just different things that I believe, with her health, she would reflect, on things. And so that's, I have some more things coming up, but.
Well, I wanted to go back to it so much with you, because you're so smart and knowledgeable. I wanted to talk about the erotica books, the mature audience, because when you get married, sometimes, for people, I'm just listening and learning, that goes away. So I guess by reading one of your books together, It will excite, you know what I mean? Not to go out and, you know, but your mate,
Yes.
your partner. So, I mean, I don't like porn, and I think it's filth, you know what I mean? But to listen and watch and read, get in bed together and watch and read a movie, read a book that's sexual or erotic.
It's very different.
And that brings passion to each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And,
Yes.
you know, under the roof of God, you know, the covenant, you know. So I like that idea. I mean, actually.
Yeah, it's very different than looking at pornography.
Yeah, that is just, yeah.
The fantasies of pornography, watching it on TV is something totally different than reading in a book. Because reading in a book,
it's not even a fantasy, because you're watching someone else, you know, and that's not good, you know, in God's eyes or in our eyes, and it's not healthy for our mates. It's not healthy for us to watch someone
else doing what they're doing. The book will actually allow you to visualize yourself. Even if you are reading about a sexy, you know, dark-skinned man that's whatever,
chocolate,
but you're with your mates. And even if you're reading it, you're like, ooh, that sounds nice, and he's next to you.
See, that's
and
beautiful.
He's human, so you're feeling him reading that.
Not watching.
And so I have a lot of men that'll, you know, purchase my books for their wife, because they'll say, well, I know, you know, the book has women in it, but, you know, and I'm like, no, you purchased it for your wife to read it to you.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's good. That's good for for husbands and wives, or, you know, in relationship. I'm a Christian, so I can't say the other. But for husband and wives, that's a book that we could to conjure up that passion, because sometimes we just get so caught up in our books. Okay, we're married now. No, but you still have to have, you know, sexy nights, that nights and date night and all that. All that still comes together. You know what I mean? So I love the idea of, you know, of getting that book, of, you know, just getting in bed together, or even going out of town and renting a hotel,
vacation,
and then just, you know, putting on your sexy, you know, this is for grown folks, putting on your sexy G's and your G-strings and your sexy this, and then sitting in there and in this jacuzzi and reading that sexual book. Woo! Yes.
And that's most of my audience are married, you know, married couples, and I get a lot of older women that are widowed, you know, you know, and they're by themselves, and that's
that fantasy again.
Yeah, and they're like, if they're by themselves, you know, they're not trying to fulfill that fantasy, which is
any old thing.
Because you know, older women, they, you know, not doing that anymore, you know. So that's majority of the audience. I've had quite a few people that say, you know, well, are you promoting, you know, women that's being single to just go out? And I'm like, I'm not promoting anything. There's single women out here that are not casually doing that, but they have these books and they read them for their own pleasure. And they're like, when the time comes, and I have the mate and I have the someone and my husband,
fantasy,
I have this book.
And so and the thing is too, because we wait, you know, as women, we wait on that mate, because God, I mean, the man finds a wife, you know, he finds a good thing. And so, but while we're waiting, like, you know, like what Boaz, and the way she was waiting for, she waited and he was looking, you know, for her. But you're ready and equipped. You know what I mean? Because we lose all that. You know, we are so caught up in, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. But just being equipped and learning, always learning. Always learning. So I like all of that. I love all of that. So what's your next big project?
So the Rich Gang is going to be a 5-part series. And so there's 3 parts out now. There's part 1, part 2, and then because it's the 3 sisters, I'm branching their stories out. Because within the big story, they had their own individual stories.
Right. They got some drama going on.
I've had my own pastor when I told him the story about the book, and I said the 3 sisters, you have the bougie sister, the oldest sister,
Yeah.
that, you know, she's independent, don't think she need no man, you know.
Right.
That's reality fiction.
That's life. Yeah.
You have the middle sister, that's the logical one.
Yes.
She's the married one. She's always trying to keep the peace within the family.
Right.
And then you have the youngest sister that kind of, you know, she didn't know who she was growing up. She kind of lost herself. So she's a young lesbian woman that's kind of trying to figure things out.
Right.
And everything. And within the big story of the parents, you know, in the streets and dealing drugs and stuff like that, you know, they have their own drama. Exactly. So the middle sister has become weak and vulnerable in a way with her in her marriage.
And there you go. Once you become weak and vulnerable, what's lurking in the way. Huh?
And so there's a backstory with the pastor of their church, but they find themselves in a compromised position. So my pastor's like, oh God. Yeah. People gonna think this, but I'm like, no, I promise. People's not gonna think.
It's out there.
But it's true.
It's happening. Look at we want to close our eyes. So I like that you're talking about.
It's reality fiction.
We need to talk about, our pastors need to stand up and talk about what's going on in the world today. You're not gonna have to worry about that here. We got this going on. Mm-hmm. We just got to lift them up in prayer, but we need to talk about it.
Yeah,
we need to have our pastors talk like, "Hey, I think you guys are seeing this is happening."
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's do what we need to do to you know. Mm-hmm. So the fourth installment, which is the youngest sister's story, that'll be released at the end of March. Okay. I have my last mature audience book. I'm not going to. My plan is. So I would say indefinitely, but my plan is I'm moving on to do more and different things. Yeah. So this will be my last mature audience book. And so that will be released. Actually, I'm releasing it on my birthday, March 23rd. March 23rd. Okay. And I'm putting together. Well, I put together. That means 10 stories. Come back here. I know. Come back here on March 23rd. Sure. Yeah. Put together 10 stories. So there's 10 men. 10 stories of various ages and various ethnicities. So you'll see a nice looking Caucasian man, a nice looking Latino man, you know, just trying something different since this is my last one. Yeah. And the fifth installment, I'm hoping to release that maybe May or June. I am going to start writing a book based on my family. Yes. My dad's side of the family is from Pritchard, Alabama, by Mobile.
Pritchard, Saraland, Mount Vernon, Citronelle. I don't know. You don't know the? No. Oh, okay. Well, that's where my family's from. My mom, really? Pritchard, there's Saraland, then there's Mount Vernon. Okay. Down that freeway in Mobile. That's where my family's from.
Really?
Yeah.
So my dad, I don't know, my grandmother, I think they came in the 60s. They came here in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And so then the story, and they had told me this, my dad told me this years ago, the backstory of how like the generation started. Yeah. I think his great grandfather was from Sweetwater. And I believe he bought himself from his slave master. Right. And that's how the Dixon Davis family started. Okay. I don't know. A lot of people know my aunt here as well. My other aunt, Angela Wilkinson.
Okay. So they're from Pritchard.
So, right. So
what's the last name for the grew up in Pritchard?
Davis.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to go back and ask the family because, there's some Davis in our family, and Adams.
Okay. I would have to ask. Right. Because I know I have a cousin here named, his last name is Lewis. Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah. And I always have to ask my aunt. Yeah. But I wanted to write a story, loosely based on the family from when he started and how the generations started all the way here to here
today. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I know. I just recently received a picture from my it was my great grandmother who was a slave.
Okay.
So it was just interesting just to see
Mm-hmm.
the slave, and then how we all became who we are. You know what I mean? How we
Mm-hmm.
made it here, and it's interesting. So I like that. I
Yeah.
like that you're gonna
So yeah,
showcase that.
I want to start writing that this summer to be released like next summer. So that's my next couple of projects. I have started writing for a TV series, a local producer.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was first casted in one of his short films.
Yes.
And then when we started talking about me writing, he started talking about a series that he wanted to put together about being single.
Yes.
And so we got together with that. So I am an actor in the series as well as a writer.
Right.
And
Wow.
that's the path that now,
Like a Tyler Perry.
yeah, I want to get into writing
Mhm.
for TV, for films or sitcoms and series. And so out of all of those things, I am putting together a masterclass about everything writing. So it's called the Ultimate Writing Experience. So I will talk about how to start your journey publishing, different genres of writing, how you publish, different ways of publishing, what that looks like, what may be best for you. So I'm putting together a masterclass, and hopefully, I will share those details to be out next week.
Okay.
And then a workshop on journaling. I have a lot of people that either they do journaling already,
Mm-hmm.
but they get stuck in how, when,
how to put it together.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do one on a workshop on journaling next month, and I think so far.
Yes, awesome. Wow.
That's so far.
Okay, well, I applaud you. I'm so glad that I met you, and this. I want you to come back March when you're going to be. You said March 23rd, so we got to look at the schedule and see what's good for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you'll come back, and maybe one. I don't know how that works. If you want to come on, and we can read the book that I purchased.
Okay.
And we can kind of, I can ask you questions about it, and then you can tell me where you were.
Okay.
You wrote that.
Okay.
Think about something like that. Okay, so how does someone reach you if they wanted to get some of your books, order your product, and reach you?
Okay.
Someone reach.
So I am on. Let me see. 1, 2, 3,
Name the
4. So I have
platforms.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to say 9 books. So I have True Essence of Loyalty, Part 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I have The Rich Gang, Part 1, 2, and then 3, which is the sister Izzy. Mm-hmm. I have the 4th one, Trey, coming March 30th. I have Climate Control, Introducing Fire, and then the new one, The Soul Snatcher. What? That comes out in March.
Wow, The Soul Snatcher.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
I partnered with the person that I loosely based Climate Control off of, a friend of mine. We did the birth of Climate Control. Yes. And those are actually real, actual stories of him and different women when he was active duty military. Oh. And so that's still in a mature audience book, but it's his stories. His story. And so I helped to publish that. Yes. So and it tells his story around how at that point in his life he did that to that was his defense mechanism with PTSD. Yes. That's how he dealt with his PTSD. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I say 9 books, because we partnered pretty much with that book, and I sell that book as my own as well. Yes. So you can reach me on my website. I have all the books on my website, and you'll see everything that's coming up there. And it's www.THABOOKCHIC, THABOOKCHIC.com. Yes. You can reach me on Facebook, Angie K Books, or Angela K Allen. Yes. Instagram, it's Angie, the book chick, _ the coach, Angie K. And you could reach me on TikTok as the book chick.
I'll put them all up too.
You'll see all my services. I do editing, proofreading. I coach people on the writing journey. I publish. I have 2 options of publishing. I ghostwrite. Yes. I write for TV stuff. And you'll, of course, see the books and other things I have on the website. Tomorrow, I'll be at St. Paul United
Okay.
Methodist Church for their Black History Professional Services Expo.
Oh.
So I'll talk about my services there. I won't
Okay.
really have any books there. I'm just talking about the things that I,
Your business.
help people do as
Yes.
far as publishing a book, tutoring, and all of that.
Okay.
And then next week, the Black Book Festival, the African American Book Festival,
Oh. Okay.
right here at the Second Baptist Community Center. So
Oh, and awesome.
be there.
Okay. So again, I'm gonna put all of her information up on the website and on the YouTube page. So you'll have all that information, and you can always reach me if you have questions. Again, I am Sandra, and I am the host of the I Shall Bloom show, and you can reach me at Sandra at ishallbloom.com. Also on YouTube, it's the I Shall Bloom Talk Show. Twitter is I underscore shall underscore bloom, and of a host of others. I need to learn those, you know what I mean? So, but again, I just applaud you, Angie K. Allen, the book chick, and I wish you all the best. And my saying is again is I shall bloom, you shall bloom, and we shall bloom.
Yes.
I thank you so much for tuning in, and you guys all have a wonderful, blessed day, and you will see her again. All righty. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.